Oh, hey guys. In this one, I'm going to teach you how to make piano melodies. I thought this was a good way of kind of falling back into the rhythm of making tutorials because I haven't really been making any for the past 2 weeks. I don't know if you guys really noticed, but that's because I had exams and everything and I was pretty busy. But this has been requested a few times, so I thought maybe this would be a good opportunity to, I don't know, answer to that. So there you go, piano melodies. I have Nexus Grand Piano, and I turned up the release to around like 80 some, and that just kind of simulates a sustain pedal that you normally have with an actual piano. Now I don't really have any high standard piano plugins, and that's because not only do they cost a fortune, but they're like 50 gigabytes long at least, or large. So that's 50 gigabytes I don't really have for a piano plugin. Therefore, I'm just going to stick with good old Nexus, and I'm sure you guys can too. If not, there's like FL Keys and whatever that's on FL Studio already and other stuff in the browser. But just get your pianos out, and then we're going to make a melody. So I'm going to try to make something relatively realistic. I want to kind of simulate an actual pianist playing the piano. Now when I play the piano, I don't usually bang each key at the same velocity, at the same force, making the same, I don't know, sounds, the same volume, I should say, of the sound. I usually kind of go like soft and kind of louder for some notes, but we're gonna simulate that by using the velocity stuff here. I just call it the ostriches, or the ostrich faces, because they kind of look like ostriches. But yeah, so enough of that. I'm going to start making this melody. Now, I don't really know what I'm going to do, to be honest, but you can kind of start with the left hand. So that would be kind of like starting your chord progression or your bass line, whatever you like to call it. Some people like to actually start with the melody itself. So if you want something fluent, you're going to have to kind of go from on beat to off beat. And we can kind of get lost. So I'm going to have this hi-hat, keeping us steady. Just kind of beating at the tempo. This is going to be kind of like this trancey thing, I guess, because I think trance really does use that fluent, realistic stuff. At least the uplifting stuff anyway. So now I'm just gonna try to play on the keyboard that I have in front of me. So if you're trying to get something fluent, you're gonna need some nice little chords. This would be D sharp major. Oops. So try to kind of pick some notes, something like that, and kind of create a melody out of it. So if I had it's good to kind of mess around with the lengths of the notes, but I think that kind of sums it up pretty well. Alright, so that could be like the start. So that'd be my right hand. I could play it, and then I could have something on my left hand. So G sharp. I could also start with D sharp, which is the key of the song, but starting with G sharp would be wise because of the way we can kind of ascend up the keyboard. So G sharp, A sharp, C, and then D sharp would be the key of the song there. So we're going to kind of have this augmenting chord progression, which is a personal preference of mine. Alright, so I'm gonna go up to D sharp, I'm gonna go up to D sharp, and then I'm gonna do this weird little thing where you kind of go D sharp, and then hit the one underneath, but you keep the same chords on top. So if I had B flat, for example, the perfect fifth, I could keep that here, and I'm sure you all heard these kind of chords before, but I think that might sound okay. So if I had something like this, something you'll notice when you play the piano is you don't hit the left hand and the right hand the exact same time. What I usually do anyway is I'll hit the chord on my left hand, and then I usually wait like half a second, and then I play on my right hand. So for example, that's my left hand right here. So keeping that in mind, don't always start the notes like exactly at the same time. Leave your left hand first, and then maybe have the right hand come in. So just something to keep in mind, just little tips, I guess. So this is kind of where the imagination, creativity part comes in, because whatever kind of comes after this is generally something that I kind of come up with based on, you know, my mood and kind of whatever creativity, imaginative melody stuff I can come up with. I don't know how to explain it. It's really just me thinking what could come next and just naturally putting in. And some people have a hard time with this because they don't know how keys work and stuff like that. But if I took out pitcher, and I know I've done this before, I'll just do it really quick. If I take out the pitcher, for example, I don't know why I like this so much, but it's just the fact that it's like a visual. Don't put this on the master channel, just put it on an empty channel, by the way. We're on the D sharp major key, so major, D sharp, and there all the light up notes here, so C, D, D sharp, F, G, etc. These are the notes of the scale of the key that we're in, or notes of the key. This is the scale. So whenever you're gonna place notes like I am right now, hit all of these notes. Don't hit C sharp, don't hit E, don't hit F sharp, don't hit A, don't hit B, because that's gonna sound off. So that's generally the basic idea of scales and keys. So there you go. I'm just gonna keep doing this now. Sorry about that, I got sidetracked there. So I'm sure you've noticed how kind of offbeat this sounds. I mean, I'm sure you guys kind of know what offbeat is, but where to place the offbeat is anywhere's like this note here. This note is kind of in the middle, in between the keyboard and the next kind of thick line here. So anywhere's in between that. This is an offbeat, 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 offbeat. This is onbeat. And the reason why I know it's onbeat is because it's against this thick line. You probably can't see it, but it's against this slightly thicker line on the grid. And if it's kind of in between two thick lines, like this note here, not that note, not that note, but this note here, this one, or any of the first ones, that means it's offbeat. Now, if it's in between, then it's something else, and I probably couldn't even tell you. But anyway, let's just keep doing this. Now, we could kind of just keep looping this 4-bar thing, but I like to kind of keep it going. It's good to not just loop the same piano melody. I think that's something that a lot of people do, and it's pretty irritating. I don't just keep on looping the same 8 bars or whatever. I usually, when I play piano, I usually just keep on playing. And so if you're going to make a piano melody, try to make it quite long. Now, that doesn't mean, like, make this super long kind of crazy thing. It just kind of means that you could just kind of loop all of this over, but just change a few minor things so it doesn't sound like the exact same thing over and over and over again. Also, to change the velocity as well down here so it sounds like an actual person is playing it, but we'll get into that. I'm talking way too much. So I want to go into this like minor thing. Now in D sharp, the minor key would be, or the minor chord would be C. So So I'm hoping you guys are kind of getting the idea. It's all really experimental and moving notes around. But I don't know if this actually sounds very good, or very fluent. I know it sounds pretty good, but there's certain things I had to kind of move around, like that minor chord I was talking to you about earlier. I thought I brought that in a little too early. And you guys might have noticed how I kind of kept the melody going here. So instead of just like looping it, I kind of kept the melody going into the next section of the overall loop, instead of just like letting it loop over. So that's something to take or to consider when you're actually making these longer melodies. So yeah, now we should probably get into the velocities of the notes, because if we don't, we're gonna run on so much time it'll be ridiculous. So let's kind of start with the left hand. So I'm gonna outline all the notes of the left hand, which is kind of like the bass line, and I'm gonna make these ones softer. So I'm gonna kind of put it in between, like underneath these lines here. I could put it even lower if I wanted to, so something like this, right? I like to keep the bass line notes lower, especially when it's chords. So that's just gonna make it sound softer. I consider when you're actually doing this on your own to really like adjust and listen to every single one of these and make sure it does sound very realistic, and not just kind of, I don't know, do this and then say you're done. Yeah, so but I'm gonna kind of be doing that today just because it might take a little while to do this. But just kind of imagine someone actually playing the piano and how it should actually sound to be really meaningful. So here we're kind of going up the keyboard. So we kind of have the choice whether we want to make it sound like it's going, or it's getting louder when it's going up the keyboard, or we can make it sound like it's going softer as it's going up the keyboard. I kind of like the second option, which is kind of going softer. For little notes like that, definitely bring those down. So I guess you guys kind of get the idea. It's really moving around the strength of each individual note so that it sounds actually played and not just recorded over the piano roll where some robot kind of takes over. I'm sorry you guys can't really like actually see everything that's going on down here. I guess that kind of sucks, but I try my best to stretch it out as high as I could so that you guys could see it. Now the last thing I like to do is the actual reverb itself. I like using the Karma reverb when using piano. I guess I should EQ first, and you should take out midsection, then something like this. A little bit of the lows too. But it all depends on exactly what piano you have. Sometimes you don't really need to EQ it. But yeah, sorry. Back into the Karma effects reverb. This is free reverb plugin. All the Karma stuff I'm pretty sure is like the filter, equalizer, and delay. So you guys might want to look into that if you're interested. Now I'm just gonna do this quick. So the type of reverb, just keep on hitting this until you get the space. I like the space one. I think it sounds nice, and it kind of sounds stringy. I'm gonna bring the high pass up a little bit. It's kind of like having a low cut. And we want to sound pretty reverberated, so I'm gonna bring up the decay like 4,000 milliseconds. It's pretty high, I know, but I quite like it. Add a little bit of pre-delay. Bring the wetness up a bit. That's just kind of increasing the overall reverb effect. I think we almost got it. I'm really looking for that kind of airy reverb, I guess, so that's why I'm removing a lot of the low end. Then you can add a little bit of delay, put the time to like 4-ish or 402. Ping pong, of course, and then something like this. I'm not really wasting too much time with the effects, but it's just an example of how you can set it up. I won't really use a compressor or anything else. This pretty much seals the deal. And I'm just gonna move the stereo shaping. I think that kind of makes it sound more pro when you have like the kick and everything going over it.